So
am I sideways on your guys' thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
you're
just sideways, man.
perfect time to start it.
Yeah.
Like I'm flipped on.
Yeah, but I got a buzz right now, Jordos. This is like perfect.
I don't want you to throw up. Hold on a second.
There you go.
Got it.
Oh,
Perfect.
There we go.
I'm covering up Chaplain John Owen though. I got to
Yeah,
move
well, and you're like really small on mine. I don't need to see me. I want to see you.
my. Hold on. Oh, I can. Okay.
All right.
Sorry,
Nice.
I don't know what the deal was. I was in there. I could hear you. I just couldn't get the camera going.
It's working.
Yeah. Well,
And,
I had an issue logging in too. I had to like update my browser or something, so it took me a second.
so
Gotcha.
Tony's out some sort of Chinese spyware bullshit. I got it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took you a second. It took you 35 minutes, but who's counting?
Yeah.
Gotcha. You can blame Mike Stedman for that because that's the guy that recommended this software to me. So
Yeah, I will. I'll directly tell him how I pointed out.
I'll make a LinkedIn post blaming Mike for our lack of technology.
Yeah. I'll say I bought his started a business and I can't even get on it. Got on his.
awesome. All right, so we're started. Huddle number 2. Today we got Matt Nechak, John Owen, Jordan Stevens, El Jeffe, Jeff Lenar. Yeah, guys, like I just wanted to throw another, option together to get together and talk about what's going on today in your life. So with that, before I've got a few things to talk about, but before I do that, like anybody got something cool going on?
Hey,
I'm sitting
Chad.
outside. You guys all look like you're inside. Is it hot where you are?
Muggy up here. I was actually out most of the afternoon, so finally inside, cooling off a little bit. So
Yeah, Chad, I'm down in North Carolina. It's like,
Oh,
I mean, it's like 95 degrees, but it felt like 105 outside.
dude, that's the Mid Atlantic.
I remember.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Ruthless.
Gotcha.
But Jordan, to answer your question, no. It is the same old work, family life, man. I mean, loving it, but yeah, same old, man.
Same old grind.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Stevens, give us something funny.
Hey, I'm moving. Did you know
Where
that?
are you moving now?
So I'm in North Carolina right now, but the family just moved to Colorado Springs last week, like 3 days ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought you were moving from like Colorado.
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
So what's funny about that?
Oh, I don't know what's you didn't let me finish the party.
All right, finish.
So what happened is my wife, who's 7 months pregnant, has taken with my 4-year-old, leaving from Houston, stepping in the house, moving into the house in Colorado. Do you think that's good for a marriage, or do you think that's challenging?
It's definitely healthy.
Oh yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah. If you survive it, it's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make you stronger than the other end.
That's exactly. They're strengthened by kicking it.
Yeah.
Good price of admission story for sure.
Yep.
I got a good story for you, Tony.
Go ahead.
Give it to me. Yeah.
I just moved too, but this isn't about moving. But I was with my daughter at Chick-fil-A, and we're eating, and she's 4, for context. And there was another mom with a newborn baby. I don't know how many weeks, but very fresh. And my daughter's like, "Oh, look, such a cute baby." And the mom brought it over, and they're like playing with her. Baby left. Like 2 minutes later, my daughter's thinking about it, eating. She stops and looks at me. She's like, "Dad, we can steal it." Like, "What do you want to steal it?" She's like, "It's too cute. Let's just steal it."
Was that your oldest?
That was my oldest, my 4-year-old.
Yeah,
And then
she's
my
a baller.
2-year-old, just so I get her in the story. Yesterday, my 4-year-old runs out. She's like, "Dad, Olivia spilled coffee all over the house." So I go in there I got it on film. I'll send it to y'all. spilled coffee all over the house. And I walk in, and she had one of those. She got a pod and like poked her fingers through and spread it all throughout the house. But I walked in, and she had like a broom and something to sweep it in, and she was naked, and she was trying to sweep it up. So
Nice. Good
those
for
are the
her.
two fun stories. Kids are endless with those things. So
That's
Yeah.
the truth.
No doubt. And they're such a good teacher. Right. Recurring themes of the podcast so far has been, sacrifice, suffering, and pain. What's going on recently in your lives that you didn't expect? And how are you handling that?
Well, I got one that I'll just jump in. Man, turning 60 kind of rocked my world. I was not expecting. I've never paid much attention to, how old I was. I don't know. I just never really thought about it. But for some reason, when I turned 60, it just threw me into, I don't know, this crisis of identity. And like, we spend our whole lives being taught how to be a boy, and then a young man, and a teenager, and a young adult, and a husband, a father. We learn how to, be a family guy. Nobody teaches us how to get old. And it's weird. I'm not sure why, but it's just like, I don't know, am I supposed to be doing this? Or is this normal? My body isn't working the way it used to, and I hurt a lot of places that I didn't used to. And is this normal? And, from what I'm hearing, yeah, it's normal. Well, it's not fucking normal for me. I don't like it.
Love it.
Yeah. So, let's do this again, in 30 years when you guys are approaching 60, and I'll give you some tips.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Always looking for those.
It's Chaps. It's funny. You bring up getting age. Obviously, I'll be, I don't know, 37, 38 this year, so not 60.
Yeah.
But my parents were but actually split between a couple of weeks. My in-laws were up here, and then my parents were up here visiting us for the summer. Hang out with my son and everything. And I remember growing up, my parents, like once a year would take like a week-long trip, just them, leave. My brother and I. And we'd be all upset, crying or whatnot, that we couldn't go, they were gone or whatnot. And, I have an 18-month-old son now. And when my parents were here, and I was joking with them, I was just like, you guys should have taken like more trips.
Yeah.
Because, being of the parent age, raising a kid, working and all that stuff, like it all kind of just really, hits home. It's like, yeah, this is the real adulthood.
Amen. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well, take advantage of your parents, and when they come to visit, you and your wife go take off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the whole time, but let them do the grandparent thing, because that's pretty fun. Being a grandparent is way more fun than being a parent. There's less pressure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, you look good.
What you got?
I said
Jordan?
you look good, Chaps.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate
real
that.
good. Yeah, real good.
Thanks.
I wouldn't have.
It's AI.
I hope I look like you at 60.
Thank you.
I was going to say, maybe that's the filters, but you're outside, so I don't think you're filtered.
I am outside. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. I appreciate that. It's good to get some external validation.
I wouldn't have put 60 on you. That's for sure.
Thank you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good.
55 maybe.
Yeah, not a day over 58.
Yeah. So 55 maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it.
Jordo, y'all got any, real time things that you didn't expect?
No, I guess it goes along with sort of the aging thing. So, not to get too into stuff, but we lost my father-in-law. I'm at their house actually right now. We lost my father-in-law a few months back, and he was 64.
Oh man.
And young, very young. And it's been quite an adjustment as a family dynamic. Just in the last few months, just trying to figure out sort of how the family operates, dealing with this level of it's not, we're moving away from the sadness phase, but It's been tough. That was unexpected. It was in the middle of the move last year that we did. And so we're adjusting, but yeah, didn't expect it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I
Gotcha.
appreciate it. I've talked to these guys, chaps, about it quite a bit. So
Oh.
but every day's a little bit different, and we're adjusting. But
Good.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hang in there. Grief is it's a strange, unpredictable ride.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, really happy I got Chaps on here today. Always seeking that guidance from folks that have been there for before. So
Yeah.
Matt, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with. I've got two of the same things from Chaps and Jordo. I mean, with Jordo, I talked to him about his father-in-law, and like literally like a day later, found out about my mom. I know we talked about this on the last huddle, but lost my mom. She was 64, lost her in December, and that was the same thing Jordo's saying. I mean, it really you try to move forward, and then we moved early July, and you really feel the impact of being a military family without a structure, because she was like the structure. She would always be there for everything.
Yeah.
So that really kicked us in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough. And Jordo and Tony, you were there for the whole thing, so I appreciate it a lot. And Jeff, you were talking to me too, so
man, that is so cool that you guys are all, you're all still a part of each other's lives. That just, man, that's good on you.
Jordan and Tony made it down to Florida. It was you can't thank people enough for that kind of stuff,
We probably text each other every day about something. It's probably something stupid or something
awesome,
important or not.
Yeah.
And then Chaps, when I turned 36, I had a semi midlife crisis too. I don't know what it was, but I started to panic. I was like, with my parents' age, because my mom passed like a couple days before I turned 36. My dad passed when he was 60, like in 2016. And I just started like I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what brought me back around, but I felt it. So recently I moved, and I was talking to new neighbors, and he was talking about how fast everything goes. And I was like, yeah, once I turned 36, I explained that to him, and he's like, you know what? Everybody past 36 feels like a 36-year-old. And that kind of struck me. He's like, you talk to someone that's 60 or 70, we all feel the same age that you feel right now, because your face, your body just starts to change.
Yeah.
But you all feel the same. And I was like, you know what? That's probably true. So
that rings true for me.
Yeah. So I agree with both y'all. That's what I got.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss too.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is that when you bought the camper, Matt?
Yeah. We bought the camper. I should have bought a Harley, and I should have,
About the same time I bought a boat.
Should have got a no stat.
Listen, I just bought a new golf putter today, and I was a little nervous of what my wife would say about it. But I got it on discount from eBay, so what do you want me to do?
Oh man, you know what I found out on eBay today? I was going through all my old fishing lures. I've inherited a lot from my old man. I found a fishing lure that's worth $600, dude.
You have
a fishing lure?
Yeah.
That's
Do not
crazy.
throw that in the water and lose that thing. Just tell
exactly.
it right.
Yeah. I was fishing with it not too long ago, but it just went into a safe. But
well, there's certainly
crazy stuff.
No reason to fish with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going on eBay soon. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That is a bad business decision if you do that.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
No doubt. It was one of my favorites. I mean, like, what am I going to do? Right.
Yeah.
Anything that you wish you would have brought up on previous, podcast episodes? I like to bring that one up. I know, Matt, Jeff, Jordan, or Matt and Jeff, y'all talked about that already, but from, Chaps or Jordan Stevens, is there anything that you wish you would have said? on
Well,
your
geez,
episode.
we were on for 2.5 hours, so I'm not sure.
It was a long one.
I'm not sure.
I've had a few
have
really
It was a
long
great
ones.
one.
This
It was a great
one.
one, Chaps. I love
Thanks.
that one. Yeah.
It was a joy, man. That was a high point of my year so far. No kidding.
Nice. So I get a lot of feedback from these, and most of the time everybody says, man, I wish I would have said this. Did you have any of that?
I got one thing, Tony.
Go ahead.
It's kind of recent, and so my wife is a physician assistant, works in orthopedics. The doctor that she works with is an academy grad, I believe, late '90s, early 2000s, or whatnot. But his oldest daughter is a lacrosse player and is at Naps right now. She just started their in-doc thing. So she's going to the academy, and I had to. We went to one of her games, lacrosse games, back in the spring, and she's like, "Oh, you got any advice or anything like that?" And all I said was, "I'm thinking back to, Chaps, both, all Nechak, Tony, and Jorda. We were all at Naps together back in the day." And I told her, I was like, "You are going to make the friends like at Naps." That you will have for the rest of your life. And then, here we are talking, my best friends in the world, or, three of them are on this podcast right now. So I think that's the big thing about, the whole Annapolis experience. And, you listen to a lot of the podcasts, a lot of guys were not big on the academy, or really not big initially or whatever on the military or whatnot. But like, I think one thing that I'll never regret about the whole experiences is just the friendships that you get along the way, and they're lifelong friendships. I told her, I was like, it's gonna suck when you're in the moment. You're gonna be miserable. It's gonna be 5 a.m. and you're out on that field doing PT. And you're just like, why am I not at whatever university having a good time right now? But when you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, like, this is why you put 4 or 5 years into a young part of your life to what you're going to get out of it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, that adversity can spawn the deepest, connections. I mean, it doesn't always, but on personally, and then even on a community. Did you guys read the book by Sebastian Junger? Was it Tribe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, one of the best books I've read in a long time. And he talks about how, during World War II, the barrage of London, it made communities stronger. And that after the war, as things started to equalize, mental health issues started to go up. They went way down during the battle, but adversity can bring you together, and those relationships are special.
Yeah. That was another question I had was, do you have any books or a documentary that you've watched, that have kind of changed your life? So let's open that one up.
Jeff, you have to go. You read like a maniac. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so I'm reading right now. I'm pulling up. I'm trying to pull up I forget the name of the author right now. I got the book somewhere sitting around here, but it's about 3 World War II submarines. The Drum, Silver Sides, and I think Tang's the third one. But it's unrestricted warfare against the Japanese during World War II, right after Pearl Harbor. So these crews basically set sail as, Pearl Harbor is still burning from the attacks. And, I was a, Marine, but like, you hear these stories of these sailors, on these submarines in World War II. It's like, man, hats off to you, man. I mean, like
different breed.
What these guys went through, and again, it's what's fascinating too is like you got to put yourself in that time frame. The Japanese, after Pearl Harbor, essentially took half the Pacific. their carrier battle force, whatever, they took, the Philippines, Manila, Burma, all East Indies and all that. And, the United States was in a very weakened spot before we could get going. And the first, crews and, the first, uh, essentially forces that were fighting the Japanese were these submarines. So you hear these stories about these guys, 18, 19-year-old sailors on these submarines, which the living conditions themselves were horrible. I mean, it's pretty like complain about some, my kid making a mess all around the house. Never mind the fact that I could be a 19-year-old sailor from Oklahoma on some cramped submarine, like 300 miles off the Japanese coast. So, yeah,
Did
it's
they
pretty
talk
incredible.
about the torpedoes and like how
Yes.
the first 2 years they were terrible, then it's
Mhm.
switched? Interesting.
Yeah, they had, I think the ratio was they had to fire 3 to get like one good shot. Like one would actually explode on the target or something like that, because it was like TNT. Then they switched to some other form of explosive that was way more effective. Because the torpedoes would actually hit the ships, but just not explode.
Wow.
So
Gotcha.
I'll tell you about a book, Tom.
Do it.
Have you heard of Michael Lewis? Like, he wrote Moneyball.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
he wrote Moneyball. He wrote The Big Short. I mean, those were ones where he talked about financial crisis. But the one that I read during COVID that I've read a couple times since is called Playing to Win.
Playing to win. I like it.
Yeah, it's called Playing to Win, but it's essentially about how much time he spent with his daughter's travel softball league. And it's not a book full of total regrets, but there's a lot of regrets in there about how hard he drove his daughter, and how much time him and his wife spent as a couple, following her around, going to all these travel softball leagues, and how he initially joined the league to kind of be like, I just want to support my daughter. I don't want to be competitive. I don't want to get into this in any sort of detailed manner. And then by the end of it, he's the commissioner of the whole damn league. And he's thinking about ways that he can give his daughter, who was like 10 at the time, some sort of strategic advantage, and going through his thoughts about how all that changed over time. It's really good. It was really cool. Yeah. I know you're knee deep in like all the gymnastics stuff and things like that, but it just, it gives you a lot to think.
I always frequently remind myself to like not push too hard.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought it up in other podcasts. A lot of things that I say on here is like so I can hold myself accountable, because now I've said it publicly.
Yeah.
So I don't do some of that stuff. But yeah, no, I'll definitely pick that book up. And Playing to Win is definitely a slogan that I like. So
you could read that book probably in 3 weeks. It's a very good book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Boy, being a dad, it teaches you a lot of things. And I don't know, like you, Nech, a dad to girls. That's there's nothing cool. That father-daughter thing is awesome. Holy crap! But man, they don't prepare you for that at father school. Particularly when it comes to sports. I wanted my girls to get into sports. My oldest daughter went to one softball practice, and that's that was it for her. She played ball, and that was fine. Our youngest daughter, played lacrosse and got pretty good when we were living in Annapolis. But they don't respond the same way that boys do. I'm on the sidelines, yelling and getting all excited, trying to motivate her, and she comes off the field crying. I realize, okay, that's not very helpful, is it? You got to learn different motivational skills.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. It's a situational leadership type of thing.
My wife will tell me, Chaps, she'll be like, your daughter's going to remember everything you just said.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, I'm not upset with her. I was just a little frustrated. She's like, you can't, not even for a second, do that.
Yeah. It's tricky.
She's going to remember that, you know?
That's the difference.
It's tricky.
in a way that she doesn't when her mom says it. You know?
Yeah.
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 Because
Yeah.
mom can say it all day.
That's right.
You know,
But when
I
dad
have,
says it, has a little bit extra impact.
they hear
to
it differently. Yeah. I have the advantage now of my little girls are now grown and they both live nearby, which is just kind of amazing. But it's really fun and it's really educational to hear them tell me about their memories of growing up and what I was like as a dad and the things that, you know, they remember. And they remember funny stuff, but little things like comments that, you know, that I made, and they haven't told me about a lot of the bad stuff. They're usually pretty complimentary, but it's, you know, the takeaway perhaps is just, you know, do your best and love them. Cause you know, only you can be their dad. They're never getting, you know, you're the only one who can fill that role. So, you know, you're going to screw it up. You're going to piss them off. And that's going to get worse, by the way. But, you know, hang in there because, you know, they will take away things from just because you were there to, you know, teach it to them for better or worse.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Is that it on the book subject? Anybody else before I keep rolling?
I got it. So I don't know, Tony. I don't remember anything. So, well, I do remember a lot of crazy stuff, but stuff that's important to my life, like school. I didn't do very well in that. We know that. But anyways, I don't know if I talked about this on the last podcast, but I read Rebel Yell, S.C. Gwynn, about Stonewall Jackson. That was fantastic. And the thing that struck me was he fought directly against the United States of America, and he killed and maimed like hundreds or tens and thousands of American sons, and he was still considered a great American. And I was like, you wonder why. But
Wow.
you get to the end, and it's like he was a gentleman and he was a man of faith, and that was the bottom line. So it's just a really interesting perspective. I recommend that book.
Very
Awesome.
interesting.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Okay.
And 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. I think everybody needs a little Jordan Peterson.
Dude, I'm like, I started reading that one a month ago, and I'm like only a tenth of the way through. But every time I pick it up and I keep reading it, I'm like, boom, boom, boom.
We talked about that, I think, on our group chat. And that first chapter, I could just listen to that thing on repeat, how he talks about stand up straight with your shoulders back, just take on life. Like,
yeah, you were always about that, like that posture. You always talked about that. And
yeah, that is something it's true. And I'm glad he talked about that first chapter.
What's the book?
12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
Just the first chapter, Chaps.
There it is. All right. 12 Rules of Life. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I pulled a few things out of that book. So I got a tie-in opportunity I got to take advantage of, right? So for something that I'm trying to do is learn how to tell a good story.
Mm-hmm.
The description of the hierarchy of intentional prioritization. Number one, perceptions. Folks drown in the complexity of misunderstood stories. Two, veiled by the fact that some things are more important to you than others, right? So every story connects differently with people. So like when you take it away, what's important, whatever, you're going to glue into what's important. Three, an infinite number of things that could be perceived from that story. So sometimes the story can be perceived in different ways, negative, positive, whatever. For a goal of curiosity when telling a story, interested in understanding the genuine, authentic realness of a speaker, proven to stand by convictions and actions. Number five, acting out the deep story gives a good credibility to the storyteller. Six, a description of the pattern we are acting out equals a story. Fundamental questions of life. What is the proper orienting narrative? Some stories stabilize you as an individual. 2, provide you with hope. 3, make you productive and generous. 4, when extended, makes a structure that unites people and produces productive peace, by Jordan Peterson. So I had to pull it out. You brought it up. So it's funny. Yeah, like I only clip out a few like tie-ins, and that was one. So ironic, I guess.
Story that certainly resonates with me. And when I was in San Diego, my last year on active duty, I was there as a geo bachelor, and there was a billboard near where I lived, and below the billboard was like a secondary little sign. It was a circle, and it just said "Live a great story." And I loved reading that. That just resonated with me. And I looked up. It's a kind of a organization. I don't know what they do, but that "Live a great story." That has become a bit of a tried to make that a bit of a mantra for me. I have a little sticker on the window of my car, and yeah, just live a great story. It's not going to be perfect. I don't know what the moral of it is going to be, or whether it's a happy story, but live a great story. Don't just live I don't know, a textbook or a manual or something. Live a great story. And
yeah, because while you're living a great story, you're enjoying it because it's a story.
Yeah. And a great story has great characters. So, bring those people into your life. That's those great people is what makes the story great. And those great experiences, you guys have had them, on the field, at the academy, naps, and then active duty, and now what you're doing now. It's all, most people never do a quarter of what you've already done in your lives.
Awesome.
I think it helps too when you think of it. If you think of it as a story, it helps you understand that there's built-in difficult parts of it. It's not just something you've brought upon yourself by some action you've committed. It's a part. It's a part of the experience of being here.
Yeah.
It helps you. It helps
the human experience, man.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you probably hear more of that than all of us, chaps. All the people you've talked to.
Yeah, I hear very parts of it, and I mean, and there's a lot of different stories out there, and I wish I'd figured this out earlier, but they're all potentially amazing stories in their own way. If we can learn to hear them or see them through the perspective, through the eyes of the people telling them, it allows me to see the story in a different way, and my reaction is often, oh, okay, I get it. It didn't make sense to me from my perspective. When I look at it through your eyes, it's like, wow, all right, that was a courageous move, or that was really hard, or whatever.
Chaps, what was your since we got you on, we're all corralled around some nice wisdom
around the master.
Around the good chaplain.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know you've had the episode already, but I want to ask, what was your biggest challenge that you've ever faced and had to overcome?
That experience on Enterprise, that deployment that was just the hardest, most painful experience of my life, and it left a mark. And in some ways, I'm still, trying to recover from that. Although that's a little melodramatic, but that deployment was just it was one thing on another to the point where I started to think, I don't know if I might have to go home. I might need to just say, I'm done, send me home. And that was I'm not a quitter. Just the fact that I was thinking that made me feel worse about myself.
Yeah. ShamWow.
But I didn't. Did you say share more?
I said ShamWow.
Oh,
so when I say ShamWow,
Chaps, that's
a key takeaway.
Key takeaway.
Yeah, I get it. So that definitely was, still, and I hope that's the hardest experience I ever have to go through. It might not be. And if it isn't, then when the next one hits, I'll kind of be more prepared for it. And I don't think it will impact me in the same negative ways that one did.
ShamWow, number 2.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was there a key thing or key individual or group that helped you get through that?
Yeah, I'll tell you the group, and Matt, I'm curious if you resonate with this. Part of the main character in that story was the captain, who came aboard under very difficult circumstances and made everything more difficult. Just a really, really hard kind of wanted everything done his way, which was very different from the previous skipper who had done just amazing things. And it was really hard for the HUDs, for the department heads. And I was, so I was part of that HUDs, of the HUDs, and that group is the only thing that kept me from going home in a straitjacket. Because they were great men and women, and they all have that sailor sense of humor. And we were all experiencing kind of the same thing. We were taking a lot of the heat directly from the captain, and then we were having to, filter it down. And they had much more, difficult jobs in many respects than I did, but we were all going through the same experience. And every night at HUDs, I look forward to it. HUDs meetings, are not known for being fun or being entertaining, but there was always humor, and there was always this. Everybody was very professional, and very professional. But we were all kind of going through having some of the same experiences, and it would come out in various ways, and we'd all laugh because we were all going through it. And it was good to know everybody else was going through it. And so that, I miss that group of men and women to this day. I owe them, a lot just for being there.
Matt, what is HUDs?
Head of department, or that's what the carrier calls it. And then other ships call it department head. So yeah.
So how was your experience with those meetings?
I mean, that was pretty much the same, because for my department head ride on the LSD, you had Jeffe to load on.
Yeah.
Who I recommended.
Yeah.
Superstar, right?
Awesome.
He came in after our CO got fired. So up to that point, it was hell, like bottom line. And the department heads were the sounding board for me. And for supply guys, I'm a supply corps officer. If you go to a ship and your Chang isn't easy to work with, your life sucks. But I went, and our Chang, he was the leader of that group, and he made it, he was having the most problems, but he was the coolest one in the room, and he was the easiest to talk to. And because of his leadership with his peers amongst us, we were able to get through it, and it was the exact same experience.
What do you think 3 key things were for Jeffe to do that, to enable him to be able to, bring people together in that way?
Oh, to come in afterwards?
Yeah, after it's a mess, and he comes in and, changes some stuff. Maybe not, I don't know. But what made him the guy in that scenario?
Some people just have stuff you can't explain, and he's got that. So that's the number one with him. He's just got it. He resonates with everybody. I think number 2, there's you can't be afraid of challenges, and he's not afraid of challenges. That was number 2 for him. And then 3, he was authentic. He says, I remember on the podcast, he's like, you got to show people you love them. He loved everyone, and he showed it. And in the Navy, it's hard. You rank people 1 to 100, and if you're 99 and 100, you hate your boss.
It's hard to feel love.
Yeah, but he found a way to show them that, hey, this is part of the process, or however he did it. But those are the 1, 2, 3 for sure.
what I loved about him, man, on that podcast is like, he took over, as you know, Matt, like a tough situation. I think like authenticity and then transparency, like he didn't bullshit around the fact I'm like, hey, we are nowhere near where we need to be. And if we're going to change this, it's going to take like all of us, a group effort to like make that happen. So the authenticity of him, and I started following his Instagram page, man. Like I love it. Like,
Yeah.
And what I take out of it too, I mean, Matt's right. He's got it. Like there's something that he just knows. But I love, and I try to take that to my job every day. I got 236 employees underneath me. It's just like that positive energy.
Son of a senior chief
of problems.
I think.
Yeah. It's just a positive energy. It's just tough day. We're gonna do it.
My next recording is with my old company senior chief, Jason Brown. He's now a command master chief in Italy. So I'm excited to hear more from him. So
that'll be a good one.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, do y'all remember
Jeffe came on the ship when the SEAL got fired. It's a big deal. Like it's a show, like the SEAL gets fired, they walk him off, and then the new guy comes on, and it's like everyone's like, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
Dude, I've been there.
And he basically said we sucked, and he basically said, you guys are not you're not to your full potential. And he said the Vince Lombardi quote. I don't know exactly how it went, but he said, winning is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing, and we're going to start winning. And that was basically all he said. But before that, he walked in, and he didn't even say anything. He just walked in and he started saying the Sailor's Creed. So everybody joined him, and that's his thing when he walks on the ship. So he started that. Then he said, basically, you guys suck, but you can be way better, and let's win. So it was really cool. Yeah.
That's
and we're
powerful.
like, okay, let's work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter. Everyone was ready to run through a wall.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, in 3 different commands, and I have nothing to do with him. I've never even met him, but some in conversation, somebody will bring his name, like I'll say something about football or whatever. They'll be like, hey, Jeffe Alota? I'm like, Jesus, man. I mean, this guy's touched the entire Navy, it seems like, in some way, shape, or form. So he's clearly a special guy.
So I also have a tie-in with street credibility. Jeremy Miles brought it up. Young Jeezy, street credibility. These are more than words. This is more than rap. This here's the streets, and I am the trap. Standing ovation.
Jeremy probably would have been a fantastic naval officer.
No
he
doubt.
would have been really good.
He would have been good.
Really good. Yeah.
He would have connected well.
Yeah, he really would have. Probably like Shun's doing and other guys are doing right now. They're just killing it,
Well, that was kind of the thing, man. Like, when you're like a football player, or even like a varsity athlete at Navy, like you're kind of like an outcast, because like a lot of, as we can all attest to on this podcast, that we are only there because we were good high school athletes. But you get into the fleet and you're connecting with these young Marines and sailors, and I really feel like that varsity athlete mentality connects with these guys. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be generals or admirals, but I'm saying like that.
No, you won't
young.
You don't have the right politics.
Yeah, when you're interacting with that young, when you're in a position which is generally earlier billets, in the Navy and the Marine Corps, and you're interacting daily with young enlisted, like they can connect with you. You can connect with them. And I think that's a large part of like a lot of our classmates like didn't understand at Navy, but I think they kind of figured it out later because, they all hated going to Navy football games as midshipmen, but 10 years later, they're all like buying season tickets. So it's a thing, man. I mean, you're an outcast, as a jock at the academy, but once you get in the fleet, I think it pays off.
That makes a lot of sense, Jeff. Hey, so can I ask you guys? I know you're the interviewer, Tony. It's your show, but so what have you guys experienced and heard about? How do football players? And I guess this is a question about Navy athletes in general, but since you guys are the ones I know the best, do Navy football players do well in the fleet by and large?
100%. Always do above their peers. That's my bias, but I would say they have this extra gear of work ethic and understanding what's important and how to prioritize, and all those lessons that what Cam said was what Navy boxed up in 5 years really pays off. So that's everybody else go. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things too. It's just like, I mean, if you look at the Naval Academy, subjectively, it's like we were there. Let's say you're not a varsity athlete. All right, we're all waking up early. We go to breakfast, we go to class, then we go to lunch. Then we went to film after lunch, but everybody else goes and takes their nap.
Yeah.
And then you go to afternoon classes, and then we went to practice for 3 fucking hours. And then, but everybody else is like, maybe you went to intramurals. And then if it was raining, intramurals was canceled. So they were just hanging out in the hall. We were always going to practice. And then we had dinner, and then we had, did homework, or, said we did homework. But I really think that like that 4 years being a varsity athlete, specifically football, where you're spending 3 hours in the afternoon literally running into other human beings. I think that really kind of cements your mentality as far as a young man, and then you take that to the fleet, and it's just you get with young, very type A guys. I mean, people join the military for a lot of reasons, but they want to do something more. And then coming out of being a football player, understanding kind of what we did, and the work ethic that we put in to get us kind of through that place. So I think that it really does pay off when you're a young, officer, Navy or Marine Corps in the fleet.
Makes sense.
I hear the baby, Jeff.
No,
that's not mine.
That's mine. I
did have to go check mine out earlier. Yeah, there was earlier. That
I don't have
mine.
a baby. My wife's sister's in town. She has a baby. She flew in yesterday, and her name is Pepper. So
nice.
Yeah. Anyways,
I think Navy football is uniquely, a pretty good breeding ground for at least your first 3 to 4 tours. I mean, what you do after that, that's kind of your own personal. Yeah. You're kind of veering away from that a little bit, I think. Yeah. And life kind of takes that for what it is. But those first few tours, where in most cases you're doing some stuff that's just not that much fun, and you're burning your candle at both ends and stuff like that, I think in every situation where I've seen the guys in the fleet, whether that's Arnold Taylor on his ship, who helped me out when I was out there, or other guys, I mean, they just know how to deal with it. And there's no situation, short notice, emergency, crisis, that they can't just pivot towards and take it head on. So I think that's why it's unique.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Okay, awesome. Young Jeezy, Let's Get It, Thug Motivation 101.
Yes.
That was his first album.
It's an awesome album. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, people like
the 101 piece, like it gives you
101.
It gave me, and I agree with Jordan, for like the first 4 or 5 years, it gave me the ability to relate to anybody, because the team was really diverse. You're
true.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah,
I'm playing with Jeremy Miles, and I was playing with someone from, I don't know, the Appalachian American, Jordan Stevens. Like completely different people. They're all your boys, so you can relate with anybody. And when you relate with your sailors, and for you guys, Marine, that helps a lot. But I did find on my department head ride, I was like a little more removed. It's not something you mention anymore that you play, because no one cares after a while.
Yeah.
Because you're just an old guy, like they don't even think about it. But I was like, I couldn't relate as well, and I could feel that as a department head. I was like, man, I gotta fix this. I don't know how to do it. But it just kind of went back to being authentic. I mean, working hard.
My experience too, just like being with your like young Marines, that a lot of my guys, my first platoon played high school football, and you tell them like, you're like, you played college football. They're like, oh shit, like that's fucking awesome, sir.
Yeah,
like,
like,
what's that like? That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just talk to them about it.
How do you all stay motivated? What keeps you motivated? What are your favorite quotes or motivational sayings that you may lean back on? Like when you wake up in the morning after a bad day or when you go to sleep on a bad day.
Donate. I got this one, man.
Take
Do
it,
it.
Jeff.
I recently printed out in my office, which sounds cliche, being Annapolis guys, but the Theodore Roosevelt Man the Arena, and I had forgotten about that. It's not a poem. The writing of it, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So I printed it out. I hung it up in my office, and because I think I mentioned on the podcast, Tony, when I first went on. It was at the end of last year. Being a new dad, stressful jobs, very demanding, which a lot of jobs are. I'm not unique in that sense whatsoever. But if you look at life, whatever you end up doing, everyone has wins and losses, successes and failures, and I think the most important thing is, to be in the arena. Like, so many people shy away from risks. They shy away from challenges.
Those cold and timid souls who know.
Yeah, the cold and timid souls. Yeah. So
Okay.
when I get down, in my job, which it's fucking for-profit healthcare, man. Like, strap in. It definitely, like, especially with a family, definitely weighs in on you. But if when you're 75, 85 years old, looking back at your life, you want to be able to sit back and look at the challenges that you took on, and you're not really critiquing the wins and the losses. You're looking at, like, yeah, it didn't work out, but I tried. I went after it.
One of my
and
favorite parts of the whole highlight film that I made for YouTube was Joe Cardona's, like, let me just go do some hard stuff.
Yeah.
And just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just think, like, that's kind of, and I constantly remind myself, I have had so many days where I'm driving to or from work in, like, silence, not even listening to the radio and just, thinking about everything. And, one of the biggest drivers for me is, I got a young son right now. He's, a year and a half years old, but, like, they look to you, what's dad doing? How's dad is when he comes home. And I don't want my son to see me when I come home looking defeated. I want him to see him, like, super happy, let's go play out in the yard or whatnot, and just give him this good perception of life, but, not to see that his dad's just, like, beaten down by, the ins and outs of life. Which we all do. I mean, everybody knows this. I mean, we're all literally experiencing it, right now. But just really just kind of just, again, sounds cliche, embracing the suck. Like, yeah, being a parent's not easy. Like, my whole house is sticky right now, but that's part of it, like, that's, and it's like, I'm like OCD. I'm OCD. So my kid, like, destroys the whole house, downstairs, and I get kind of like I gotta clean up or whatnot, but, like, you just gotta kind of embrace it, because you don't have those days forever. Like, he's not always going to be destroying the house.
No.
It's just kind of embrace it. So I gotta, like, humble myself a lot of the times.
No
Good
doubt.
word.
Anyone else? How you stay motivated?
My answer, and I've been thinking about this, I'm having a hard time staying motivated at this point. This is part of that 60-year-old hump. And I think it's partly, I just lost my mojo after that deployment, and the PTSD just kind of changed everything. And the things that used to work for me, they're not there, at least not in the same way. So it's been a challenge for me to find something that, because I know once I get excited, once I am devoted to something, I'm all in. I kind of learned that from you guys. it's been hard to find. I missed that because that was one thing I had when I wore the uniform. I knew who I was and what my job was, and generally what the mission was, and that enabled me to focus on that. Retirement has been a harsh reality that nobody's going to set that for me. I got to find that for myself, and that's been a lot more challenging than I expected. So the motivation basically is don't quit. And I think honestly, I think of you guys. I think, oh, they'd be so disgusted with you if you just quit. They're not, so I don't. And sometimes just not quitting is enough. Other times I get these kind of glimpses. Okay, I'm here from, my family's the biggest. I get my whole family's here, which is, not something I expected. So, they're my motivation for now, but that guiding thing that gets me up in the morning is kind of missing, and that's a challenge. I don't like it.
Gotcha.
Trying to pour water on the whole conversation.
No,
That's good.
That's good shit. Shit,
I would say it's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I want to follow that. Just maybe you can take a piece from me, Chaps. So for me, for motivation, it's always my wife and kids.
Mm-hmm.
A while back, I wrote it down. Try to operate every day with humility. It's like a triangle, like a triad, right? Like, what did I do well today? What did I do poorly today? And what's my grounding piece? And my grounding piece is my family.
It's my grounding piece.
And that's what motivates me. And I'm sure for you, Jeff, you can find that easily.
Thanks, Matt.
Glad I can help.
I'm going to use that.
Bad day. What do? I had a real bad day, and one of my mentors was on and heard it, and I called him right after. Basically, like if you get in trouble, you just want to get it out of the way. Just like call someone that's important to you, like, hey, yep, messed up. Let's own it. Let's get through it. So I called him, and we worked through it, and he said, all right, you had a really bad day. Just remember this. When you get home, kindness is free. And what he was telling me was, don't take this home and let it ruin your family life. Just go home, forget about it. Be kind to your wife. It's not their fault. Don't involve them at all in this, and just tackle it in a different perspective. So that was the best advice for a bad day for me.
Words.
Jordan Stevens, we haven't heard from you yet.
yeah. I mean, I think my thing, you talk about work. I mean, we're 13 or 14 years into a Navy career. You could really find yourself buying into being a cog in the wheel. just being somebody that goes to work, does what they're told, and leaves it. I fight back against that. I get no motivation from thinking about being somebody like that. I try to find problems to solve, even if they're tiny. That's fine with me. Just affect some sort of positive change. That's where I get my juice from. And a lot of times that does come from home, trying to find ways to get the kids more involved and stuff, or find a way to help my wife do something she's struggling with or whatever. I've found myself becoming more of a teacher and counselor kind of mindset than I have anything else in my life. And I like that role. I've appreciated that. I think I picked that up somewhere along the department head ride. So that's motivation for me.
What's your best joke that you spit when you're talking to people nowadays? Because we got
none of them.
You got
none
the
of them
humor.
are appropriate, Tony.
Oh.
None of them are appropriate.
The most appropriate, good joke.
No, listen, I got great inappropriate ones that I want to say. Not on here. I got one too. Yeah. I'll tell you afterward.
No, you will.
All right. Is that because I'm on?
No.
Is that because
Chaps is on? This one's going on YouTube. So we're on our best behavior.
Yeah.
All right.
because I'm an employed American and I need to just understand that, you know?
ShamWow. All right. Voice of the customer. From you guys, because I know you listen to a lot of episodes, is there anything that I should stop, start, continue with this thing? Like, I've thought about cutting out the whole intro thing, just jump straight to memories and let the person tell their own story. Is there anything that I should do differently on this?
Give me like the format,
Yeah.
like how you're.
Yeah, just how I approach every episode to try and be efficient with the time.
I love the memories. I mean, obviously, I'm more biased towards the guys that you have on the podcast. So like I know, but I don't think format wise, I think the memories set a really good tempo for who these guys are, and then kind of really gets the conversation going. So
okay,
I
don't really think.
Gotcha. Tony, guys open up with you. I mean, they talk about hard stuff, and you're good about they'll kind of test the waters a little bit, and you'll say, "Go on, tell me more about that," and that just gives them the green light that okay, this is safe, this is okay. So I think and those are often the most powerful moments. So giving people and encouraging us to, all right, tell me more. Yeah, it's hard, but will you share it with us? That's good stuff.
Gotcha. Good feedback.
Now that I know what ShamWow means,
ShamWow is my
buzzer button, man. Well, Tony, I think the best part about this, man, is it has reinforced the reconnection amongst all of us. Now, obviously, like if I see, let's see, like Jeff DeLiz, 5 years.
We got to get him on.
Yeah.
Keep pushing.
You have to get Jeff DeLiz.
Listen,
So I was in Vegas for a year when Jeff DeLiz was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base. We had a lot of fun together. But
he doesn't want to do it, does he?
I can get the XO of the Blue Angels on here, but I can't get Jeff DeLiz on here.
DeLiz, yeah. So Jeff and I had a great time together in Vegas. His wife is amazing. We had a lot of fun. But I think, too, it's just like, we all are very close, in our friendships. But we've all gone our paths through life. But I think it's great to reconnect because, like when you're struggling with like job, family, and all that stuff, you connect with one of your best friends, like, Nechak and Jordo, when we connected down in, Fort Myers for beers at that shitty Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, what that did for me, man, like driving back to my in-laws' place, like I haven't seen you guys for a couple of years. Like, that's like, that makes the whole experience. So I think this podcast and listening to these guys, and it's kind of just motivating guys to reach back out to each other. Like, hey, like I talked to Bobby Doyle in I don't know how many years, but now we're all in a group text together. It's like fantastic to be just talking shit back and forth to him.
He's definitely a leader in that area. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cam,
and we love him.
Cam said something like, "Don't be afraid to, whatever, cash that in, or don't be afraid to reach back to that, from time to time," which is a great way of putting it. It's sort of like one of those things that can rejuvenate you when you hear your brothers talking about stuff, or talking struggles or whatever, and you're doing a great job with it. So I don't know what you can change. I don't know. I'm sure that you.
Well, I had to ask, like.
I mean, the question's back to you, Tony. I think, because it's great for us. Like, do you want to expand this thing?
Yeah.
Do you want to go outside? Then you got to start asking, because people don't understand when you're talking to, I don't know, Jeremy Miles, who he is, if you don't explain it,
Right.
Gotcha.
You want to expand outside our group, then that's got to get more in depth.
Gotcha.
And then your goals have got to shift a little bit, but we like it how it is. but I understand if you need to and want to expand.
Yeah, obviously I like doing it. So, the more it expands, the better it is. But yeah,
What are
that was it.
what are the conversations or the questions or the, I don't know, whatever, what has really floated your boat about doing this, or what stands out to you about, what have you gotten out of this that is valuable to you?
All right. I'm going to try and keep it short.
None of us do.
So I started this podcast when I was in a place where I knew I needed to make a change.
Mm.
And a lot of the guidance, a lot of the things that I took away from what made me want to start this were on other podcast platforms. I'm like, oh, these things are cool. Like, the advice that I'm getting is good. And it's not like victim like, it's not, it's Navy football like advice. And
Hey, Bryce.
and when I
Katie said hi.
Oh, and Katie, sorry.
Yeah. Bryson is currently screaming in his grip, but he's good.
That's awesome. And when I wanted to start this, I was in a place where there was a lot of negative energy, a lot of like things that, people talk about control what you can control.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to control this. And I started this. And it just gave me so much more positive, authentic ideas to keep doing what I was doing without having to shift my, be a politician, right? Too much on a few occasions. So for that reason, I started this, and it's been awesome for me personally. So
Good.
Maybe that answers the question.
Absolutely.
It does. Chaps, I don't know if you remember like Tony back in school, but he wouldn't have been the one where I'd been like, oh yeah, so we're going to graduate, and then there's going to be a guy that starts a podcast.
Yeah. I don't remember Tony, but it doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's the thing. He was on the field bashing heads, but he wasn't talking about it.
Well, that's the thing. I need to talk about it, because another good benefit to this is once I'm gone, my kids can listen to all these things and remember the memories. Like Nechak lost he talked about losing his folks.
Ian Meredith could have started a podcast. I would believe it. But like Tony Haber, I was like, really, Tony, you gonna do it? But hey, Tony, all credit to you, man. This has been you have knocked it out of the park, brother. So I love it.
I knew you would follow through with it and be consistent. Because
that's true. That is true.
Once I committed to it, once I'd made that my mind up with it, and I got Cam on the first time, I was like, boom, let's go. And that's,
dude.
Like, I posted that first episode, and I was like, here we go, straight up.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. The Cam podcast, both first and second one, man. I was like mid-30s, ready to run through a brick wall, man.
How do you know a guy like that and not pull out all the good lessons, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
that's what I'm going to try and keep doing. And
good,
man, appreciate you guys getting on tonight. So any other final thoughts before we close this thing out?
I got one. I got one. So a couple weeks ago, my wife and I went down to visit my mom, and who lives in a retirement community. She's 86 and healthy and active, and she's awesome. I hope I'm as active and with it as she is at 86. But they do a monthly kind of a read aloud where residents will gather, and 3 of the residents will pick something and just read it. So it's it's just something that they do. And she's told me that in the past she has read from my book, and I
nice.
Which is fine. That's what moms do, right? we were going to be down there on the night of this reading, so she asked me if I would read, and I said sure. I'd love to do that for the people that she lives with, and so I read a chapter from the book, and Tony, when we did our conversation, that was the first time I'd picked up the book in, I don't know, a few years. So it kind of reacquainted me with the book. And then, so this thing came up. So I read a chapter, and then I told him, but I want to read one more, introduction. And it was the introduction to the bowl game. And I talked about how, Coach Johnson had quit and Coach Ken, this was his first game as head coach, and got to the part where, what year did you guys graduate?
09.
2010.
9,
Yeah.
Well,
10,
10,
okay.
10,
9
10
and 10.
graduation year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
09
Okay.
season, 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was the 07 season, 08 grads. And I got to the point where, if you remember, he said, he just read the list of names and assignments. And I started reading those, and it's the first time I've said a bunch of those names in a long time, and I got choked up. Just the impact, the power of, these are these guys who that moment were football players, but they were heading to something much more important. And just I love the way Coach Ken just read the names and the assignments, and I just kind of let that speak for itself. And it was powerful for me again, but a bunch of the residents afterwards came up and said how powerful that part was. Just, the reading was, about football more or less. But such an appreciation, and a real understanding, that generation by and large, they get it. They know what you guys stepped into. So, it was an opportunity to be proud all over again, of you guys, and I wanted you to know I shared that with some people that really found that powerful as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's what it's all about, Matt, right there, huh?
That's it, man.
That's what it's all
No
for.
doubt.
She had a nap today, so she is not going to sleep. Yeah, say
Hey,
hi.
you.
So I'll
Hi.
be busy.
Hi.
She's like, there's
There's,
people.
oh, look at that.
I know.
Just smile.
Nice. That's a good night.
Yep.
Cool.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, I think this is probably where we close it out, unless there's any other saved rounds here. But yeah, good talk.
Great
Yeah.
to see you
Awesome.
guys. Great to
Yeah.
see you guys.
Great to see you.
Chaps, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I
Good.
tell you, I'll tell you this. I don't think you understand the influence you had on us as players of the academy, man. It's great to see you still connected with all of us, and really, man, I just want to thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. You guys are
for
pretty
everything.
important to me.
For everything. Yeah, for everything.
I've seen that book all over the fleet too. It's like in places you wouldn't even know about.
Oh, come on.
It is.
Really?
It is on my bookshelf.
All right. Well, I'll take that. All right. Good to know.
All over.
That photo of the firefighter sticks in my brain, going up the stairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That moment when Ken was reading the list, when you were talking about it, I remembered like how I started to think, oh man, this is a crazy moment.
Yeah.
And then that little chain that you gave
Fantastic.
it, with the Bible verse on it.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. I wore that during games, so that was good.
Awesome.
Good stuff, yeah.
Good. Well,
Awesome.
It's an open invitation to come up to God's country and go fishing or whatever. Anytime.
Time and money.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
We'll be there one day.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll still be here.
Jordan Stevens, close us out with a funny thing.
No, hey, look, man, I'm just glad to see you. You got no idea. It gives me the juice to see you guys. I'm super fired up about it. Hopefully we can do this again. So, I love you all very much. Good to see you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Y'all have a great night.
See ya.